Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit of the WoW podcast, Blue Please on CynicalBrit.com. Welcome back to Darkshore. It was supposed to be Goblin tonight, but as it turns out, Goblins are now crashing the clients. Yeah, not too good. They've actually disabled all Goblin characters across the entire beta server until they can figure out what's wrong with it. So, I'm back with the Worgen, and I wish I wasn't. So, a lot of people have said, well, I'd love to be a beta tester, and I totally get where they're coming from. I mean, it's a privilege to be able to play new content, it's really exciting, and of course, you feel like you're getting involved in something that is new, and you're allowed to have a little bit of influence into something that you otherwise really wouldn't. I mean, people think they have influence over Blizzard, but in reality, if you read the forums and the amount of retarded nonsense that is on there every single day, and how it is simply ignored or in some very delicious cases slapped down by Ghostcrawler and co., you really don't have much influence. In a beta, it's a different matter entirely. It's a smaller testing base, and they're actively looking for feedback. However, there are times when you will meet a wall of utter frustration. This is one of those times. Now, this series of 3 quests follows on directly from what I did in the last Worgen video, and this one is centered around the Tower of Alphalax. Don't worry, there's not too much stuff here now. A lot of it's been ruined and cleared out. There used to be an entire series of quests surrounding this, but not anymore, as far as I can tell. Most of this centers around the Shatterspear, who we've been dealing with since the Shatterspear War Camp. I've got a few quests, the first of which is to go slaughter Shaman to get Shatterspear amulets, which are, annoyingly enough, not 100% drop. The second one is we've got to use a poison-tipped Dryad Spear to interrupt the casting of 2 Shaman, these named Shaman mobs, and then we're going to kill them. Now, you saw me beating on one of those earlier, and nothing happened. And last but by no means least, we've got to go inside the tower itself, recover some research to stop it from falling into the hands of the Forsaken, and kill the commander of the expedition. Which would also be okay, except it's not. So, let me explain the problem. So, first things first. On the Brink, the amulet quest seems fairly simple. Shouldn't be any problems with it. Except, there are barely any Shaman, and the area they spawn is absolutely tiny. I do like that little debuff, though. Yes, where was I carrying my purse? Yes, I don't really want to know. So, the Shaman barely spawn, there's not an awful lot of them, and the drop rate isn't 100%, so that's an exercise in frustration to start with. It's not as bad, however, as Strategic Strikes, which doesn't actually work. So, these 2 named Shaman mobs are perpetually on really low health, don't do anything, can't be hit with the spear, and can't be attacked in any way, shape, or form. So, that means this entire questline is broken. You can't go past it at this point in the beta. Needless to say, I submitted a bug report, and of course, this video acts as one as well, just to make sure that they don't miss it. And last but by no means least, the looting of Alphalax would be fine if this guy didn't have an obscene spawn time. Now, you'd think that after disappearing, he would be back fairly quickly. He isn't. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes for this guy to respawn. Rather annoying. I'm going to cut all of that out, because last thing you want to see is me sitting around waiting for it. I'm also going to make massive cuts to the whole farming that was going on with the Shaman, because it's not entertaining. See, I was able to get the tome, no problem at all, but you'd think maybe that would spawn the commander. It doesn't, which is something they might want to consider. Just trigger it off the tome. It's like, how dare you steal our research? For the Forsaken, blah, 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 spawns it, then you kill it, no problem at all. In this case, they don't do that. It is a static spawn point, and it takes forever. Beta is beta at the end of the day, but like I say, I'm here to provide feedback, so that's what you should be expecting. That's what a proper beta tester actually does. Okay, fading all of this out, cutting after about 10 minutes of this nonsense, and let's get back to the farming of the amulets. And sadly, they've actually changed the dance back to the standard one. I quite like the head banging. It's rather metal. Ah, the joys of generic kill quests. They're not even all that threatening either. They're at least approaching my level in this area. I'm starting to scale. What you're going to enjoy later is the fact that I give up on this entirely. I can't get past it. It's just not possible. I end up killing these Shamans for about 20 or so minutes to actually get the drops. I was in a group with another guy because I thought that might make things a little bit easier. Plus, with the spawn time, I wanted to make sure that he got the credit for the kill as well. Last thing I want to do is inflict that nonsense on him. But as it turns out, we were killing all the Shamans in the area and it just wasn't dropping. That and the fact that that guy, I think, went off and killed some stuff that wasn't part of the quest, so whatever the case. there's nothing worse than a quest where you're just killing and killing and killing, and the things that you want simply don't drop. That is a relic of the past times, the vanilla content. Whether or not there's any place for that, I'm not convinced. I mean, some people say, oh, well, it's too easy if it's 100% drop rate. Define easy. Because killing 12 of these things is just as easy as killing 6 if I'm fighting them one at a time. It simply takes longer and is more boring. I don't equate time spent to difficulty. Never have, never will. So I've always believed that, say, attunements don't serve any practical purpose and shouldn't be in the game. As far as I'm concerned, if you are a guild and you're able to go into the dungeon, you should be able to try it, and whether or not you're able to defeat the boss should be entirely based on how good you are as a guild. That's why I've always said removal of attunements is great for people that don't play a lot. Like, say, my old guild used to raid 6 hours a week total. So it was 2 3-hour sessions, and that was all we did. Because, honestly, we were busy, and we didn't really have a lot of time for it. We got pretty far. We didn't get as far as the hardcore guilds, but we got far enough. And there's a lot of guilds like that. There's this mistaken perception that guilds are only for the hardcore, and it's all about poop socking for 5 days a week and 8 to 9 hours a raid. It's nonsense. That's not how people play at all. Some people do, but they're the minority. Most guilds play simply involves playing at whatever rate you guys feel comfortable with, and removing attunements was a good way to do that. Anyway, I'm sort of getting off point here. The point is that the only thing that should stand in the way of you and rewards is your own skill and the skill of the guild and group that you're with. It shouldn't be artificial time sinking. It shouldn't be annoying time lengthening mechanics such as less than 100% drop rate. And no, it isn't harder. It isn't more challenging. It's certainly not more hardcore to have you kill 18 mobs instead of 6. It's just dumb. It's a waste of time. It's as simple as that. It bores people. It certainly bores me. I can't... Who finds that entertaining? Somebody, please tell me. Do you find that entertaining? I don't. Whatever the case, this is feedback, so there you go. I'm going to skip the rest of this because there is nothing else you can do, really. I eventually get the amulets. You can't hit either of the mobs, so this area is pretty much screwed. You can't finish the quest line right now, and I will maybe come back later once it's fixed up to show you what happens with the storyline. So, look at your character. Now back to me. Now look at your character. Now back to me. My character is now a manatee. Or sea lion. Or whatever the hell it is. It's some kind of mutant seal. Whatever. The pedantry. I can predict it now. Or cause it. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but whatever. Okay, so that's just the internet. Right, well, we are heading in the direction of that giant cyclone, which I'm told is where Malfurion is. Now, I heard a number of rumors that the way that the questing's supposed to work is you're not really supposed to do the quests you're directed to do as a Worgen. You can actually go further down south and start some more challenging quests that are more appropriate to your level. So I thought now's probably a good time to do that. And as it turns out, I was running south and I managed to find this refugee camp. Now, this is much better than what I just did. This is the Oberdeen refugee camp, and we are, of course, near the ruins of Oberdeen. There is some crazy Twilight stuff going on, and we're going to go find out what is happening. Hate to disappoint you, I'm not going to go speak to Malfurion just yet. That's going to be in a future video. I'd like to show you the ruins of Oberdeen and the quests that are within it, because they are significantly better than the nonsense I just had to endure. Okay. That's a good start. Right, so we've got to go and kill some of the air elementals, get their bracers, and wash them in the Moonwell. Okay. Is that at 40 degrees? What kind of spin cycle can you get on that? What else do we have? So, we've got 3 hammers to break. That is, kill 3 named mobs, who are surprisingly challenging, and I was very happy about that. Then, of course, go and have a powwow with Malfurion. I'm not going to do that right now, so that's going to wait to a future video. So, let's get it started right here. Now, these mobs are... They're about the same level as the mobs I was fighting there, but they're actually a lot better. I mean, they can do a lot more damage, and they've got some nasty abilities to boot. So you do have to be awake in this entire area. It's very densely populated with mobs. These are not the only things available. There are the named mobs as well as a nasty boss mob at the end of this zone. These lightning bolts are quite unpleasant. Big damage, as you can see. Now, I've got to put some words of praise in to start with for this particular area, because it does actually force you to be awake. Now, up until this point, I haven't really had any problems with my druid. I don't really play a druid at all, so you can consider me to be a newbie in comparison to anyone that's ever played a druid before in their lives. So it's nice to be able to view this zone from the perspective of someone who's maybe got some knowledge, but doesn't have a clue about playing the class that he's rolled. So at least I can give you a little bit of perspective on that. But I'm having to work for it here. I'm taking a lot of damage, I'm having to pop out of my form and heal myself, and thanks to the guys that gave the advice, by the way, of putting the heals on the bar for an instant flip out. That's nice, didn't know that. And yes, Claw is gone, you can stop crying. Never let it be said that I don't learn from criticism. As long as you spell it correctly. And you don't act like a dumbass. Clearing these guys out of the way, that's the Moonwell, as you can see. So these are 100% drop rate, which is absolutely fine. But you do have to get quite a lot of them. Now, I'm not really complaining too much about the numbers here. Number balance is weird, because you've got to try and get the right number of quest items so that if you're doing multiple quests in the same zone, you're going to finish around the same time, give or take. Okay, so this one is all about coaxing the spirits. We've actually got to find some of the old dead NPCs from Aberdeen and coax these wisp spirits out of them. They're trapped for whatever reason. There is also another quest there, but I cannot find it at all. I don't know where it is. I've looked. It's on the map, but as I say, I couldn't find it whatsoever. I'll try and find it in a future video. I think it's got something to do with the Explorers League, because I'm sure I saw somebody with the NPC later on in this video, but whoever it is just isn't there. I'm looking, I can't find it. Right, first mob. Let's heal ourselves up, because this guy can pack quite the punch. Always nice to have a little bit of dialogue as well. He's a little bit tougher, as you can see. Some nasty lightning bolt abilities. Easy to take you down about half health, but a ferocious bite will take him out. Okay, what is that? Well, that is a very nasty air elemental that will get its just desserts, let's just say, at the end of this zone. Now, considering the amount of traveling around this area you have to do, I think 12 of these braces is reasonable. It's not a terrible number. You do end up running into these things all over the place. It's very densely populated. I'd imagine on launch day, and of course around the launch of Cataclysm, that's going to be less of an issue. Things will be respawning quite rapidly, but there's only one other guy in this zone, so there's a lot of guys. Now, like I say, don't get cocky with these guys. They will smack you the hell down, which is good. That's really, really good. I've been playing lazily up until now, so it's like, okay, time to wake up, focus, and actually get the heals off at the right time. I've got no shame in saying that I was not paying attention and I got smacked for it. That is perfect. That's exactly what you want in a new player zone. The last thing you want is to allow people to sort of surf their way through 70 or 80 levels, not paying any attention to anything, and then have them apply to your bloody raiding guild. Because that's the same attitude they'll have in your 5-man dungeons, in your raids, in your battlegrounds, in anything. It's always good to give people a challenge, and it's more engaging that way. I mean, who the hell wants to just sleep their way through all these quests? Now, you'll notice I am being followed by a wisp there. I actually did speak to this guy. He was on the floor there. I say speak. I coaxed the spirit out of him, whatever that means. Now, sadly, the fraps footage for that did get lost, but I'll show it to you in the rest of it. He's actually the drinks vendor, oddly enough. He's very, very dead now, I'm afraid. But don't worry, he has one final part to play, and it's very heroic indeed. A little bit more heroic than giving you berry juice. Although not by much. Yeah, the way the Night Elves do things is always a little bit pansy-like. If it was the Orcs or Trolls, they'd be just like, aha, it's some kind of air elemental. I hit it with my axe. Well, in this case, it's like, well, I spin around and do wispy things, la-di-da. Totalbiscuit, why do you hate alliance so much? Nah. Ah, it looks like a dead buzzbox over there. I'm sure a lot of you will be very happy about that. Not quite as happy as the removal of Deep Ocean Vast Sea, but there you go. Always nice to get some catharsis there. I'm actually kind of upset that it survived, really. In pieces, admittedly, but still, it's there. Now, Predatory Strikes is a lifesaver in these situations, because like I say, these mobs do hit quite hard, and if you're trying to level in Feral, the Predatory Strikes buff that I was telling you about is a proc based off of combo points on finishing moves. So, based on how many combo points you use, you get a chance to proc this Predatory Strikes, and then you can instant cast a nature spell. So you can use Healing Touch, for instance, to reset yourself back up to almost full health. That's ideal. You can also get a little bit extra DPS with a Wrath spell, but it's just so not worth it. Why don't you just hit them with a Mangle? So the heal makes it really, really handy. It means your downtime is fairly minimal, and you can save yourself in a pinch. That said, it's not a necessarily reliable mechanic. Just bear that in mind. I like this reference right here, because it's like, well, level 14 mobs couldn't have killed a level 65 Flight Master. You know, why is it that the Flight Masters are always the mightiest of warriors, and all they do is stand around providing taxis to people? I have a feeling if we got all the Flight Masters together and sent them into Naxxramas, Kel'Thuzad wouldn't last 5 minutes. That said, Kel'Thuzad didn't really last 5 minutes anyway. It's like a glorified loot pinata. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm an elitist old bastard that liked vanilla content and remembered when Nax was hard. And yes, it was. Are you telling me Hygen the Unclean can actually kill me with that crap? Well, yes, he can. That and lots of lag on Thaddeus, that'll kill you too. Okay, well, you've seen how lethal those elementals can actually be, especially when you pull 4 of them like an idiot. I think we can speed up the rest of that. Now, we've got to go grab those other guys right there, and then we've got to, at some point, cleanse the bracers. Now, I did have a very bad feeling about this, and it turns out my feeling was justified. I'll show you why in a minute. Can we get him without aggroing? No. No, you can't. There we go. Shall have your spirit, thank you very much. These are tough to actually justify going 3 Mangle and then Ferocious Bite, which is nice. I like to pay a little bit more attention to your rotation. Now, considering the amount of HP these guys now have, a fairly strong argument could be made for applying Rake as well early on, straight after a Mangle. The amount of damage it does on these higher HP mobs is actually worthwhile, in my honest opinion. But again, what do I know? I play a mage. We don't go with the whole claws and biting and kitties. Right. That's that dealt with. Now we've got one more of those named mobs to get, as well as 1 spirit to coax. And then, perhaps we can go and say hello to that big elemental dude. Nice bit of convenience here. They do put him quite close to the final one, so it's a logical sort of circuit around this area. I still have no idea where that other quest is. Not a clue. Thankfully, it's not essential. It's entirely optional. Yeah, ignorance, blah, blah, we're the Twilight, we get the idea. It's kind of difficult to be intimidated by the Twilight at this level, although some of the stuff they've got in the Twilight Highlands, as you probably saw, was a little terrifying. It's like, we've got a Sarlacc, and it's about 20 times as large as the other Sarlacc. I'm not just talking about the original edit either, I'm talking about the remastered Sarlacc with the extra stuff. The one was like a pit in the ground with a couple of spikes in it, wasn't all that impressive. There's that explorer guy I was talking about. I'm convinced that that's the quest. You can't even see it anymore on the map, so it may be one of those incidental quests that you pick up. It's funny, I was talking about those in the Mulgore video, saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if? Well, it kind of helps if you can find it. Right. Washing time. You guessed it, you've got to click on every single bloody one of them. Why must you remind me of the Thorium Brotherhood? That said, this is nowhere near as bad as the Thorium Brotherhood used to be. Oh, you have no idea. Some of you might remember, in which case, I've just reminded you of something you tried to scrub from your brain. A recommendation, Blizzard, can we just have it do the entire stack at once? I mean, really, what is the point? Fantastic. Now we can hand this one in, and now we get to do some interesting stuff. So, they're not too happy about the summoning of Aetherian. Yes, Aetherian, really. So the Twilight Dude's really big into the summoning of elementals. You might have noticed if, say, you've played any of Silithis. It was pretty much all they were doing. Hey, look, would you like some elementals, Azeroth? Hey, Azeroth, I've got elementals. It's like, yeah, we get it, Twilight, we get it. You've got elementals. Oh, God, this got boring 5,000 years ago. But the elementals! Oh, you're more enthusiastic than we are, Twilight, I can tell you that for a fact. Now, we've got to go activate the ritual orb, and then those wispy things will happen. Yes, because that's the Night Elf way of doing things. I'm sure Worgen would just be like, you know what? We're going to do what we did in the Battle for Gilneas. That big stompy abomination thing, we just sort of flew through the air and clawed its face off. That's just how we roll. But no, we're going to work with the Night Elves. Yes, wonderful. So, use the wispy things. Yay! It's okay, though, because I can put a point in Fura. Wonderful. Doesn't really help all that much, honestly. But whatever. You're forced to. right now with the state of the talents, I can't go any further than that. But hey, just put 1 point in there, and then once I hit level 19, I'll be able to get to tier 2 of the talents, where hopefully things get very exciting indeed. That said, you get some really nice stuff on tier 1, so having to put a point in Furor is a small price to pay. Okay, sneaky, sneaky, kitty, kitty, let's get over here. And there's Aetherian, and he's in the process of being summoned, although there's no one here to actually summon him. He's also shouting a lot. He goes all caps. He's very BM. GLHF, Aetherian. Because I have wispy things. Yeah, go get attacked by the drinks vendor. That will be your undoing, foolish elemental lord. We'll cover you in berry juice. Actually, look it. See? He's purple. He is covered in berry juice. I knew it! I knew there was power in them there drinks. What is this, Yalda? Haha, there is nothing that you or these other spirits could do to stop me. Although these stains are going to take ages to get out. Oh god, I'm really dizzy. You're spinning and sparkling and stuff. Ah! My greatest weakness! An arcane explosion! That's what I assumed the greatest weakness of every mob and or boss in Dungeons and Raids was. I kept hitting it and hoping that the weak point of the particular boss was actually an arcane explosion. And then the guildmaster turned around and said, Totalbiscuit, stop spamming that goddamn spell or I will G-kick you. And I was sad. But we've got his essence, so everything's good. Back to the ranch. Now that was much better than the nonsense we did earlier. Yes, absolutely. Hell, I would recommend, actually, when you get to that point, if you're leveling your Worgen in the bait, just come down here. This stuff's way more interesting. It's a shame they don't direct you. Just sort of head south and you'll run into the refugee camp at a certain level. It's not all that hard. There we go, there's the hand-ins. And next time we'll go and speak to Malfurion. Wow, that's actually quite nice, isn't it? There we go. 2 stam, 2 agi, and a little bit of hit on there as well. You can't really complain. Certainly a lot better than what I'm wearing. It's nice to get gear that's actually an upgrade for a change, although it looks identical, which is a little bit disappointing. Mine has been Sniff Sniff, and I will sniff you next time.